Well, welcome back to the All Out Club podcast, and it's a very special podcast once again because we have one of the greatest AFL players of all time joining us. Three-time Premiership winner, 2002 Brownlow winner, 2003 Norm Smith, three-time All-Australian, three-time Brisbane Best and Fairest, the captain of the Brisbane Lions from 07 to 08, the most ever games for the Brisbane Lions. Blackie, have I got all that correct?
G'day, Coops and Coops. Good to be with you, boys.
Welcome, mate. Thanks for coming on, firstly. I mean, we appreciate it so much. When you read out that list of accolades, there's some thoughts come back to you about some of the greatest times of your life, I'm sure.
Thanks. Pleasure to come and have a chat, guys. When I was a kid, I guess grew up in Perth and never really expected to play much AFL footy, and to come along to the Lions and be a part of that era that I was fortunate to be a part of was a bit surreal. And it does feel a bit funny hearing all those accolades, I guess. But I was very fortunate to be a part of that group, and certainly obviously worked pretty hard too. But I was very grateful to have that success like we did.
Yeah, mate. I mean, we're going to go back to your career, but the Brisbane Lions at the moment, they're on top of the ladder. They won the Premiership last year after probably a very heartbreaking 2023 loss. Where do you sort of sit them at the moment and how they're tracking a rather disappointing draw, you would say, against North Melbourne on the weekend?
Yeah, look, it's amazing. It's quite a twist from this time last year. They obviously won the grand final, but they were maybe 2 wins and 5 or 6 losses, but they're the other way around really now, aren't they? Sitting on top of the ladder, and all we got to do this time of year is just build the wins to qualify, hopefully the top 4 at the back end of the year. So they're doing a beautiful job of that. Yeah, weekend was pretty disappointing, drawing with North Melbourne, but to North's credit, they played well and made life hard for us. And we're pretty lucky to get the draw in the end, I thought. But now they're in a great spot, and hopefully they can. They're not playing their best footy, are they?
No, not at the moment. But I mean, they didn't play. I think I was listening to SEN on the weekend actually, and this time last year they were sitting 13th. So to be first on the ladder, I think they're doing all right.
Absolutely, but it's wild compared to last year. So yeah, they're playing in patches.
Yeah,
they're playing in almost sort of 20-minute patches and getting some wins on the back of that. So if they can find a way to play 4-quarter footy, then look out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you think they can go back-to-back or even better, back-to-back like you did in 2001, 2003?
Yeah, Cooper, I reckon they've got the talent to do it. They're without Joey Danaher obviously this year, but they've got such depth of talent. They really do. They've got so many guys that are very potent in that forward line, great midfield, good back six defensively. So they could win it. They could win 2 of the next 3 years. Like they really have got that ability, that depth of talent about them. They've got the experience now, got the belief, the confidence. That's a powerful thing. So, not saying they will, but they've got the ability to be able to do 2 of the next 3 years, I reckon.
Yeah, 100%. I guess we're going to rewind it pretty much back to before you even played AFL. We've actually done our research and we're buzzing with questions. Is it true that you played rugby before playing Australian rules?
Yeah, Dad was a Kiwi. Forgive him. Could
have been an All Black.
Not with a body like this. But yeah, I did. Dad being a Kiwi, I played rugby before, played Aussie rules over in Perth, and loved it. Yeah, really enjoyed it. And I remember growing up and wearing Dad's rugby jumpers around the house, and my brother and I played down at Palmyra there in Perth, and I really enjoyed it. But my mates at school in Perth, being a big Aussie rules city, got their teeth into me, I guess, and said, come and play Aussie rules. And I did that from the age of about 9 and just fell in love with the game really quickly. And but played all sports growing up in Perth, played pretty much them all. But Aussie rules is always sort of my favourite sport. Did a lot of middle distance running, little athletics, and that helped my football, I feel. And played a lot of different sports, and certainly rugby was one of them.
Every bit of research that I've done, mate, is that you've been described as probably one of the most down-to-earth, humble men that you probably ever meet. And you grew up in Mount Isa originally before moving to Western Australia. It was that sort of qualities that your parents instilled into you at an early age, going into your teenage years, of course, playing high-level football. You sort of need that will in front of a camera now with social media days. Was that something that your parents instilled into you at a young age?
My parents are both very down-to-earth people, and I was born in Mount Isa randomly. I popped out there. I think Dad had like a fruit juice run or milk and fruit juice run up there. It was like a franchise in the late 70s.
We'll claim you as a Queenslander.
Yeah, I'll take it.
Definitely.
Yeah, well, I've been here longer than I have to WA, but yeah. And then Mum being from Perth, we eventually ended up back in Perth. But yeah, I do have a memory of, I guess, humility, a great slap in the face, or a great lesson I got from my mum in my second year at the Lions, and probably jumping ahead a bit, but I had a few schoolmates over from Perth for the weekend, and we went out for dinner in the car travelling to the restaurant, and Mum was in the car with us, and I don't remember what I said or my behaviour in that sort of 24 hours my mates have been in town, but I must have been a little bit, out of line, and we got out of the car and walked towards the restaurant, and with my friends, and we were laughing and joking, carrying on, and I turned behind, and Mum was back at the car, and 50 metres behind, and I turned and I walked back. I said, "Mum, what's wrong?" And as she looked up, she had tears running down her eyes, and she looked up at me and said, "Simon, you've changed. You've become an arrogant little prick, basically. You're obnoxious, you're rude, you're dismissive, and you're not the son that I raised."
Oh, wow.
And so that, little 30 seconds, a minute that she said to me was the best clip across the face and the best grounding I've ever got in my life. And it always sort of stuck with me at the age of 18 or 19 that, you would obviously pay respect to the ones that help and support you along the way and love you. And no one did that more than my mum, beautiful mum, and she still is today. So that was a great lesson I got at a young age, and it always stuck with me.
Yeah, wow, that's a great story, and I feel like every kid growing up will get a slap across the face from their parents, or some sort of turning moment which can really shape how you end up in your career. And obviously, that has proven to be just that.
Yeah, we all get a bit of swagger, right? Don't we? When it's our teens or early 20s, and we think we're going all right, even if we're not. And I think it's not a bad thing to get that old school bit of a rocket from time to time.
Oh, absolutely.
Get your feet back on the ground.
Do you think that was maybe stemming from, obviously you were drafted very young and you were drafted 31st for Lions. Was that a lot for you at the time? Obviously being so young, I can think about we're 21, 22 here. And if that happened to us, I think we would have the biggest egos of all time. Being so young and getting drafted, how did you take that all on? And also, how was that process just as a youngster itself? Was that very stressful for you at the time, or?
Yeah, Cooper, I was very at home in Perth. I didn't want to leave. I was a big West Coast Eagles fan, and wanted to get drafted to them or Fremantle Dockers. And back in the late 90s, there was a time when they tried to, I guess, turn athletes into footballers, and they were about speed. And I was never quick. And I spoke to the West Coast recruiters, and I did a 40-metre speed test through the gates that they asked me to do, and I had to get a certain time. And this was on the back of a national carnival that I went to represent WA, and did fairly well. And on the back of that, they said, "Look, yeah, do this speed test. If you get this time, we'll look at you." But I was pretty nervous in the lead up to it, and I was about bloody 3 seconds too slow. So
yeah, wow. Was that one of the major setbacks that you've had in your career that could shape you, or what's a major setback where you've been like, have you been told that you're not good enough before? Because I'm sure there's a lot of kids out there watching this that would be like, I've been told that I'm not good enough for the professional stage at one point. Is there a moment where you can pinpoint that?
Yeah, Cooper, I contracted Shillman's disease in my spine at the age of 16, and basically that's where your vertebrae and a few of them in your spine don't form as they should and cause a lot of pain, and I couldn't play sport for about 12 or 18 months. And
yeah, wow.
That was about the age of 16, 17. We were full of energy and starting to get quite aspirational about wanting to play AFL footy and so forth. And for me, that was the time where I guess I had to be patient because I was really inactive. I couldn't do anything. I didn't know how long it was going to last. And I guess what it did is when I found myself being able to move and exercise again, my goal was to make the under-18s WA state team, and I had about 12 months to do that. And I've always been a skinny kid and always lacked a yard of pace, so I got a sprint coach and started going to the gym and learn about nutrition and things. And that was my real, I guess, watershed moment to really focus in because I was behind the 8 ball and there was a lot more kids ahead of me in WA and things. So that really drove me, and I was lucky to make the WA team that year and got drafted, like I said. And yeah, it was a big thing to leave WA. I was hopefully like you boys, well looked after at home and great, loving, supporting family, and Mum was wonderful and things. So it was a big move to come to Brisbane from Perth, and you get a 2-year contract, and I was always one that sort of thought I'd get the contract and then that'd be 2 years up and I wouldn't get another one. So I just made sure that I cracked in and worked hard, and I wanted to be an inside midfielder, and I spent a lot of time with our captain, Michael Voss, who I'm sure you guys know much about Vossi, but he's one of the best players who ever played the game, one of the best leaders, captains to play the game too. And I sort of mentored him and shadowed him for about 12 or 18 months, and he helped me work on my craft of the midfield part of the game, and I sort of built my body, and I just didn't want to be 50 and have regrets that I didn't try hard enough. So I really, I guess, got out of my comfort zone a lot of the time in the first couple of years to sort of build a career in the AFL, and I saw AFL players as like freaks on tally, like big, muscly, super talented guys, and beyond anything I was going to be capable of. But once I got drafted, I realised that, yeah, they got a bit of ability, but they're not superhuman. And if you work hard and you set yourself some goals and you're really strong on things, then you might survive. And yeah, I worked that out in the first couple of years and managed to get that second contract.
So when your name gets called pick 31, and it's a two-part question, I guess. Do you first care that you pick 31? Are you the type of guy that goes, all right, I should be number one pick, like my goal was to be that number one pick? And then I guess the second part is your name does get called. You're in Perth, Western Australia. You've got to travel back to Brisbane. Where do you go from here? Were you nervous? Were you happy? Were you anxious? You know, they're only a new club as well. They're starting up into the AFL. What were the thoughts process, I guess?
Yeah, I was a bit of a mess really initially. I was like, I've got to move the other side of the country. I was so keen on staying here and playing in Perth. So that was a big shock. And it not being Melbourne, the heart of football, was a bit different as well. But when I look back, it was the best thing for me. It really was. But to get out and grow up, stand on my own 2 feet, learn to come over and cook and clean for yourself, and be a young man, responsible young man. And
bit of structure as well, I'm sure.
Yep, bit of structure, and so yeah, it was definitely a shock, and it was the start of our family, dividing really, which my parents were, and a lot of obviously kids around the country with the AFL do. This happens, that's the what's been in your life is no longer. You're not under the same roof and things, but that's part and parcel of obviously being wanting to be a professional footballer and things. So it was tough, but it was the best thing for me, and also playing football here in Brisbane, where it's a rugby league town, if you like, or a rugby town. It wasn't Aussie rules. We don't really get recognised a whole lot, and I really enjoyed that, and just sort of not talking footy all the time. And in Melbourne, it's in your face a lot of the time and things, or WA, and so I found that really healthy, and didn't suck energy out of you having to talk and think about the game all the time. You could escape it. So that was a great thing in the end, as it turned out. Even though we came dead last in my first year in '98, it was a great thing.
Do you think the draft system, because that is just so rough in my opinion, being such a young star, and you can just travel across to the other side of the country just to make your debut and play. Do you think that's a pretty rough system, or are you a fan of the draft system? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I am, Cooper, because I think what they do, it's about equalisation. They have the AFL, I guess, as a mandate, or a philosophy, is that in every lifetime, in every I guess 20 years ideally, through salary cap and draft, you should be able to see your team win a premiership. And one of the big things around that is the draft. And for those that don't follow the AFL draft or know much about it, if you finish last in the year, on the ladder, you get the first pick. You finish second last, you get the second pick, sort of thing. So if you're down the bottom of the ladder, in theory, you should start to get all the top end talent and boost your chances of going up the ladder. So, yeah, I get it. Yep. And they've brought in a thing where if you're at the club for X amount of years, you become a free agent and you can sort of become more transient.
Well, it's a big issue in the NRL at the moment, because the last 11 years, there's only 3 teams that have won it. So they have a big issue at the moment where if those 3 teams keep winning, like, what's going to stop them from winning, the next couple of years? The Melbourne Storm has always been in the top 4 fighting for the premiership. So maybe they have to introduce a draft process as well, or something on the same lines of that, because there is some sort of issue going on there for sure.
And you look at even the new teams coming in as well. They got the Western Australia team coming in, the PNG team. If there was a draft in the NRL, that would just shake up the whole competition.
100%.
But I think it's something that would be necessary, to be honest, to split up that talent, because those teams, they're just getting better and the worst are getting worse.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Yeah, you wonder what the next 5 years looks like if there's no change in that. They might look to introduce the draft.
Just touching on your first year, mate, you you said you finished on the bottom of the ladder in '98. Was there a welcome to the AFL sort of moment for you, or a rough night that you can remember, or even if it was just your debut? What was the highlight of that first year? I guess coming into a new club, which is only in its second year.
Boys, it was professional back in '98, but I'll give you an idea of how different it kind of was. So when I arrived on the flight from Perth and came to the Gabba and went to the change rooms and met all the players who were in the gym and went around and introduced myself and so forth. And then I went to the property steward's room and he goes, "Come here, son. I've got your runners and your shorts, your singlet, your hat, and here's your City Rollers nightclub drink card." On top of it, I'm like, man, that first year I worked that drink card harder than my six runners. It was a different time. And look, when I look back, that I guess on reflection, and you don't know what you don't know, right? I knew we didn't win many games, but culturally we weren't in a great spot. You know, we merged with Fitzroy only 12 or 18 months earlier, and there was probably a bit of disharmony in the group, and we didn't have a great work ethic, and there's probably a bit of entitlement and selfishness within the group, and became last. And we did have a lot of injuries that year, but I always reflect back on that and just think I learned the importance of culture and having genuine care within the group, particularly in Brisbane, where 80% of your playing list is from interstate. And if you don't have a good culture and a good environment, players just
get up and leave, right?
Get up and leave.
Yeah.
So you've really got to have a strong culture in place.
I guess leading from that as well, coming last in 1998, that would have been pretty disheartening. Could you see the premierships coming in the future when you were there? Because obviously you won 2001, 2002, 2003. When you're last, only a few years prior to that, what's going on in your head? Because surely you're losing a little bit of hope at that point.
Yeah, I could see the frustration in the older players, and when you come into that AFL environment, and I managed to play a few games my first year, I was like, "Oh, this is cool," and getting drink cards to City Rollers nightclub. This ain't all bad, but yeah, I could see the frustration from the older guys. So to answer your question, no, there's no way you could see the success that was not that far away. Our coach got sacked in our first year, and then I'm sure Leigh Matthews came along. But I knew even in '98 when we came last, we had a reasonable squad. We just had a bit of sort of, like I said, some traits that weren't great, and some of our older senior players had a lot of injuries in that year, so we didn't give ourselves a great chance. But Leigh came, and Leigh's first year, '99, we made a preliminary final.
Yeah, what was Leigh like? What was his sort of style like? Yeah,
Leigh's one of the great figures in the game. He was a very simple coach. I guess when we look back, boys, I don't know about you, but your great teachers that you've had, or coaches, or whatever what it is, they have a great ability to simplify a message, and Leigh had a great ability to do that. And Leigh's whole philosophy was around know your role, accept your role, perform your role. No, accept, perform. And you think about, I guess, any workplace or what have you, but you might know your role, but you're willing to accept it and go and perform it. In footy on the AFL field, sometimes everyone wants to be a midfielder or a forward to kick the goals, and you might get asked to go and play in the back line and on the back pocket and just shut an opponent down and not get much of the footy yourself. Not an overly glamorous sort of role, but Leigh had a great ability to sell that message and give credit and to the guys that did their roles really well, and give nourishment to the blokes to keep wanting to do that for the team, because he'd really make revered those sort of guys in the team, and that was really powerful for us, and that went a long way for our quick spike up the ladder from '98 to '99. What
would Leigh say to you? What was your role, I guess, in that sort of premiership era?
He gave me a chance in my second year to be a midfielder, and that was my goal, like an inside midfielder, and I just wanted to survive and work it out. Can I survive at AFL level my first 12 or 18 months when I got that chance? What would he say to me? Just go and get the bloody ball, win the ball, Blackie, and
it worked.
If the opposition got it, make sure you shut them down quickly. Pretty simple. Yeah, he was great. He's probably got a lot of traits to Wayne Bennett, really, in that regard. Wayne was great at building relationships. That's obviously been his probably legacy. Leigh probably not as strong in that regard with his playing group, but he just demanded respect, or respect was bestowed upon in the way he went about it. And having him in your coach's box, his ability to be able to hear him with his history in the game when you're at the MCG, the 100,000 people there, and he gave us confidence. He gave us real belief, and he gave us a lot of life lessons. Like Leigh was coached by two guys, John Kennedy and Alan Jeans, who a lot of people wouldn't know those names, but they were two of the best coaches in the history of our VFL. And one was a school teacher, one was a policeman, and they just had great life messages. I used to say to us boys, like you said, your individual reputations will be enhanced on the back of team success. You know, if you buy into playing your role for the team, and that's the best way we'll fulfill our capabilities as a group, your individual reputation will be enhanced on the back of the success we have. But don't think your individual reputation will be enhanced if there's no team success. And it's so true. Simple thing, but it's so true, I think, in any walk of life.
Absolutely. I mean, I feel like, and Betsy could probably add on to this, is that the coaches that have the best relationship with their players, that know their players the best, like your Bellamy's, your Matthews. I've heard Chris Fagan's very similar. He gets a lot he gets a lot out of their players, have the most success, and obviously that stems true from that conversation there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he had lots of great little one-liners. I'm trying to think of a couple more, but things that were just, it was very real percentages, man, and he'd sort of weigh up, around, and he
did he give you a spray as well in halftime sheds at all if you were down?
Oh shit, yeah. we had one was a bit of a watershed moment in 2001 where it was Leigh's third year, and it was the year we ended up winning the Premiership and went on to win 16 games straight. But it was a couple of weeks before the start of our 16-game run where we got belted by Carlton down in Melbourne, and he kept us all in the sheds after the game, and he went through individuals, and I remember him saying to one bloke, said, "Mate, you're not bad at the Gabba. You're not bad at your home deck and the comforts of your home ground, but as soon as you get on an aeroplane, you give us bloody nothing." So until you mature and, get a set of balls about you when you travel interstate, like you're not going to survive at AFL level. So that was one thing he said, but he spoke about the importance of defence. The hardest part of the game is getting the ball back from the opposition. And he said, "Boys, we've got forwards that are only concerned about kicking a goal. There's no defensive bone in your body. We've got midfielders that are unaccountable with their direct opponent, and we've got defenders that won't defend first." So he said, until you blokes buy team defence, we will never fulfill your capability. And so that was, I guess, a moment where it really helped trigger the playing group taking the ownership for it. And it's amazing how quickly things can change. We started having really firmer conversations with each other at training, and what was acceptable previously wasn't going to be accepted anymore. And we learned the importance of having follow-up conversations as well to not damage relationships and all these sorts of things. Sometimes on the field, what comes out of your mouth, because it needs to happen quick, isn't ideal. So, you might swear at someone or whatever. So the follow-up conversation is really important thing. So, yeah, the player leadership group was really good, really strong in that time, and things turned really quickly. And we went on a really long winning streak and won that first premiership.
Yeah, that's so interesting because obviously as a viewer, we probably weren't even born at this point, but as a viewer in general, you don't really notice what goes on behind the scenes, especially with the coach and the relationship between the coach and the player as well. But leading on from that, in 2001, finally getting that first chip, what was that like?
Yeah, it was amazing. It was
It's everything you work for, right? Like,
yeah, since the age of 9, when I started playing really and started watching the West Coast Eagles on telly, and it was incredible. Cooper, it was. I was a bit overawed. Probably my first grand final in 2001. I ran out there, and there's 100,000 people. Let's talk about the Coliseum, but
yeah,
like you can't hear your teammate 15 metres away yelling at him, but they're just the loud and the noise in the place is outrageous. But yeah, it was. I felt like a bit of a spectator out in the ground. I was that kind of overawed by the occasion, but yeah, it was amazing, mate. And sort of we talked to younger players now who are, at whatever level of footy and sport they're aspiring, they're playing, but the effort's worth it. When you get there, the effort is so worth it, and all the early morning starts, all the soreness, all the team meetings, all the extra effort that you got to do, the mental and physical grind, it's bloody worth it.
And how are the after parties?
Well, it's the first time I've ever felt like a rock star after 01. Cooper, we went to the Crown Casino, and it was our after party there, and then we went to this nightclub, and I don't know what it was called, but Vossi, our captain, grabbed us sort of throughout the night. And he said, follow me. And he took us up these stairs or these dark tunnels and things. And then all of a sudden, this door opens. We walk out to the stage, and there's this band, and there's a sea of people. I reckon there've been a couple of thousand people. And the band starts singing, "We Are the Champions." I get a microphone thrown to me, and Vossi and I are singing "We're the Champions" in front of a massive people. So that was pretty cool.
And I'm sure Akermanis would have been involved with all those celebrations. Have you got a great story about him that you can share about him?
Aker, yeah. Old Scoop Akermanis, we used to call Aker, yeah. Well, the thing with Jason, I really, really like Aker. We've got a great relationship, and he did a lot for football in Queensland. That was, a big rugby league town. His handstands, and when he won the Brownlow in 01, he started getting all these media deals, and he was writing for the newspaper, working for, I think, maybe Channel 10 and doing radio. So he was real busy. And I heard someone say that he was getting paid more for his media than he was for footy, which is wild. But anyway, he just loved it. A story about Aker. What used to pay us off back in the day was things that, as a part of a team that are quite confidential and intimate, we were sort of getting leaked out into the media. And one quick story, we had a bloke, Mel Michael, who was our full back, and he when you weren't looking, he'd steal your phone and he'd write a message to people in your contacts list. And he wrote one to my mum one day and said, hey mum, I just want to let you know I'm gay. We'll talk about it tonight. Anyway, he was a big kid, Mel. He was a clown. Anyway, Vossi was having physio at the clinic one Thursday afternoon at 5:30 at the Gabba, and he's sitting back watching the Channel 10 news, and Mel saw Vossi's phone, and he grabbed Vossi's phone and he picked it up and he wrote a message to us all saying Vossi had a bad knee for a long time. And he said, "G'day guys, it's been a wonderful journey. I've loved my footy career. As you know, I've been struggling with my knee. The doctors today have told me I've got to retire effective immediately." So this is 6 years before he retired. So we've all got the message. We're like, holy smokes, surely not. And so Aker's got it. And so he's rung up Channel 10. Must have been instantly. He had a 5:30 physio appointment with Vossi. And Billy McDonald was reading the Channel 10 Sport up there at the time, and he did his sports thing. They threw back to him on the desk, and he's like, "Oh, massive breaking news out of the lines. Michael Voss has just announced his retirement." Vossi's sitting there watching the Channel 10 News going, "Oh, really?"
Yeah, really? I don't know about this.
So that was Aker for you. It was a bit of a leak out of the club at times.
Yeah, a bit of a clown. I love that. And you said that you're a rock star after 01. You move on to 02. Everyone's talking about back to back. You have one of the greatest years. You win the Brownlow. I watched a clip actually of yourself claiming the Brownlow when you won it, and you seemed a bit shocked and surprised that you actually had won it at that point. Is that an honest reaction, or
wasn't I a shit-ass public speaker?
Yeah.
Got better.
Oh, it was horrendous, embarrassing, that amount of ums and ahs that I said. Yeah, I was rattled. I was clearly rattled, being on national tally and wasn't expecting to win. And
genuinely didn't think you were going to win it?
No, I think I was probably, I don't know, third or fourth in the betting order or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
But no, I didn't expect to win, so I was taken back.
At a moment like that, did pretty much all your memories of playing as a youngster, even getting the lesson from your mum, does it all just flash through your head and it's kind of like a wow moment because you've just won pretty much the biggest award you can? That must be pretty insane. Yeah,
it does. It does, mate. I think it consolidates all the hard work that you put in, and I was always a mindset of sort of a bit of self-doubt and what could go wrong and things. But yeah, it really consolidated that belief and gave me confidence that, mate, you actually are not a bad player. So that was
you've done it right.
Yeah, done it right, kid. But yeah, at the moment, I was rattled. Yeah, shocking the acceptance speech.
we won't show the clip then if you don't want to relive it. Was there you sort of win one, and winning one's great. It's almost impossible to win two, but then to go back to back and win three, and then have almost a chance to do four after the third one. Do you almost feel like you're invincible almost?
Yeah, we felt, yeah. We had the Gabba rocking, sellouts. The corporate boxes were full.
Ticket guy would have been loving that. Whoever he was.
We had the Broncos off the back page of the Kira Mail, and we were leading the Channel 7 and 9 sports. It was like Brisbane got around us. So it was wild. It was really cool. And you go to, coffee shops or whatever, and people knew who you were. It was like, wow, this is different. And so it was cool. Yeah, it was cool. But we did have a pretty, for sustained success, you do need to keep your feet on the ground, and you do need to strive for continual improvement. And that was one of Leigh's great strengths as well. He'd really hone in on, say, our exit meeting at the end of the season of 01. All right, Blackie, how are you coming back at the start of pre-season? What are the 2 or 3 key focuses that you're going to get better at, both individually and how you're going to help us as a team? And that stuff was good. That aspect was really, really good. And I think just collectively, individually as a group, we were pretty self-driven. And but yeah, to answer your question, Coop, it was once you get a taste of it, you want more of it, and you're willing to, I guess some groups may get, a bit big-headed and things, but I don't feel like we were. Maybe 04, we had a lot of injuries and things, and I still, we had a strong year, but. Yeah, 04 when we lost the grand final, we probably we'll probably be beaten up, unfortunately.
In 2003 as well, you had 39 disposals in the final, which is just incredible. If I'm not wrong, it's still the record for a final. Are you looking at the disposal count in a grand final just to make sure no one beats your record, or
check it at half time? It's a pretty good time. Oh no, I think.
Well, Traker's got 39 as well.
Yeah. He got it a few years ago, but whatever. It was cool. It was a great day, Coop. Yeah, it's the most I've ever enjoyed a game of footy, to be up at half time, 3/4 time, and know probably 3/4 time. Know the last quarter you're going to win from a long way out. That was the most I've ever enjoyed a game of footy, and probably they talk about being in the zone or whatever. It's one of the most I've felt just really connected to the game and just enjoyed it, and exterior distractions weren't a thing. It was really just being honed in on just present and felt in tune with the game. It was really special.
Were you a nervous player, Blackie? Were you the type of guy to be sitting in a corner and you're sort of stressing about the outcome of the game, or you're quite level-headed before you went out? Because playing in front of 100,000 would have been obviously stressful in its own right. But were you a nervous type of operator?
I was all my whole career. Yeah. Real nervous. Yeah, really nervous, and it affected me early on in my career, and I think it affects your central nervous system, and if you really struggle with it. I'd play the game over in my mind a lot, and sometimes I'd feel like I'd be out of energy, before the start of the game, because I'm like, and so I learned through not doing that real well, the power of visualization. And so 17 of our 22 games are generally night games, so you'd wait around all day for a game, and I learned through failure, I guess, what were the 2 or 3 things I do well when I play well, and really visualizing those 2 or 3 things. And I'd lie in bed before a game and night before and visualise those things, and then that helped me get a good night's sleep. I'd park it, compartmentalise it, I guess, and then same thing the next day, do it 2 or 3 times, just lie down for 5 or 10 minutes and just visualise myself doing those things really well. And to the point where even within a game at half time, if I wasn't having a great first half, I'd come in at half time and just be like, all right, what do I do well when I play well? And just really hone back in on those and see myself doing those things. So I think I've been lucky to have a couple of points with the All Blacks, points of throughout my coaching days, and the All Blacks talk about the critical few. What exactly that? What are the critical few things that are most important to your game? And they talk about almost like an 80-20 rule, I think it is from memory, where those 3 things almost make up 80% of your performance. And if you nail those things, when you put your head on the pillow at night, it should go a long way to performing at a level that you can. So I think the simplicity around that really appealed to me. Yeah,
it's a great message. And before you touch on the rest of your career, you've had such an illustrious career, and you probably met so many different people along the lines. And one of the great questions I like asking people is, out of everyone that you've met in the sporting world, it doesn't have to be sporting, could be business, could be anything. Was there a moment when you met someone who goes, oh, that's that guy and he knows my name, or geez, that heavens above, that's so-and-so and he knows me and he's chatting to me? Is there someone that sort of clicked for you in your career for that moment?
Well, I've loved my surfing, being a Perth boy, WA, getting down to Margaret River. I've always loved my surfing to this day. And I've got to meet Mick Fanning. He came along to the Lions years ago, and he tossed the coin before the game and things, and he came into the rooms after the game. So that's definitely one, meeting the 3-time world champion.
Yeah.
I'm lucky enough to be going to his golf day next month too, which
there
I'm
you
pretty
go.
stoked about. But yeah,
You can see the smile on your face now.
yeah, he's just such a great Australian, that man. Yeah, I've got a few for Australian favourite athletes. Pat Rafter's one.
Oh, yeah.
Adam Gilchrist is another one, the cricketer. I haven't met him, but I'm going to meet him at a luncheon next week, I believe, in Cairns. But yeah, I don't know if I answered your question.
No, that's it. You want to keep going, that's fine.
Yeah. Also, leading on from your answer before, how you were a bit of a nervous player at times, getting your first taste of captaincy in 07 and 08, how did you combat those nerves to become a leader?
Yeah, so if I can just say, after our little golden era, 01 to, I guess, say 04, the couple of years after that, I was in my mid-20s, and a lot of the older guys retired, and I feel probably any sporting team, once you get into your mid-20s, you have real ownership for the footy club, for the environment. You've had years of experience to that point. For some guys, it might be in their early 20s. You know, you get asked, Michael Voss got asked to be captain, I think, as a 21-year-old. So for me, yeah, I guess you have that ownership and you feel the responsibility and you enjoy trying to help the next batch of young players coming through. And when those older guys from our Premiership team retired, the Jonathan Browns, the Luke Powers, we really relished that chance to try to help the younger group coming through. And history says we weren't able to get ourselves back up the ladder, unfortunately. But yeah, it's all the ability to impart what you've learned and all that is a real buzz, I reckon. It's really cool, and being able to set the standard for that next generation coming through is really important. And you know, I've been lucky to play in some great teams, but I've been in part of some pretty ordinary teams too. And that, you know, little things like that old saying, the standard you walk past is the standard you set, and just being conscious of not being a, you know, over the top, overbearing sort of personality and being a nitpicker. But the onus is on you to set the environment, set the standards as a senior player, and I really did enjoy that for our younger kids after our golden era.
So what was the biggest difference you would say from a team that was in that golden era to the team that obviously didn't perform as great? What was the main difference in? Was it the talent? Was it the psychology of the team? What was the main difference you thought?
You no doubt the talent and the abilities. You know, you got to say it's a big part of it.
It's a big part of it, yeah.
But again, the All Blacks, they talk about culture eats talent for breakfast. Talent eats culture for breakfast, and I reckon it's so true. You know, you'd much rather, you know, and we had in 2009 we made the finals, won a final, and then we got traded. We got Brendan Favola to the club, and we got 6 or 7 other guys with Fev to the club, and you know we were organically starting to improve, you know, pretty well, and then we got this influx of say 7 new guys, quite mature guys to the club, not young guys, and it just really shifted the dynamic of the group. None of them were bad guys. It just really kind of altered, I reckon, the trajectory that we're sort of on, and we lost some talent through trading guys out, or had to get rid of guys and lose draft picks and things. So just the sensitivity around organically growing is a really interesting one. Like, can you buy a premiership? You know, can you buy it, or does it grow? Most sides that win I dare say, probably most footy codes and sports, they get an influx of a sprinkling, but they build together. And what you find is you want to form a brotherhood, and trust is a really big thing, particularly in contact sport. You know, when you get your name gets called out, balls kicked in the air, Blackie, you've got to go. Difference between putting your body on the line and going instinctively is a big thing around trust and not want to let your teammate down. And that's, when you've got that, that's gold. And it takes years to build that. And that's the great thing about a premiership. It's not just that 12-month period. It takes years to build that connection and brotherhood with each other. And that's the gold.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that as well, because I can make comparisons, say, in the NRL. I look at the Panthers. It's the same thing. They've almost got that brotherhood that they've had for years. They've been so successful 4 in a row, but now they start losing a few players, a few little systems are changing, and it almost changes so much more than you can imagine. So, yeah, it's just very interesting you say that. You got anything?
Yeah, maybe I don't want to keep you too long because you got a family and everything to go to as well. So we do appreciate your time. Again, just moving on quickly, you played your 300th AFL game in 2012. You're the first person to play 300 games, win a Brownlow, win a Norm Smith, and a Premiership. Your 300th game was a miserable one in the wet. Do you have many memories of that one?
Yeah, it was bloody horrible. Horrible.
I think you got pumped as well, didn't you?
We got pumped. Yeah, we used to get pumped all the time. Yeah, it was the Gabba was. I tell you what, the drainage at the Gabba is so much better than it was back in 2000.
And I was at the test that first day of the Indian test, and when there was 13 overs, it was a flood. It was a floodplain, and then all of a sudden, it was just dry. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah,
it was unbelievable.
Unbelievable. Yeah. So that 300 games, I think the water was up to my shins. It was wild. It was. I had my little Lachlan. He was, I don't know, 8 months old or something, and we ran out, and it was bucketing rain, but we got pumped. So that's my memory of it, Coop.
Yeah, not much going on there. And then you retired in 2013, 322 games, 171 goals, Brisbane's all-time games leader. There's a lot of people that I read books of that leave footy, mate, and they're sort of lost with the structure. They don't know what to do with their lives after footy. Were you always set in stone with what you wanted to do after you finished playing football?
Not really, no. Yeah, I had the soft eggs that went into coaching at the club that I played at. And, but yeah, it is challenging. Like it is a challenge, and I guess the guys that do it well are the ones who, transition wise, have something going on whilst they're playing, and whether it's study, whether it's part time work or work experience, and have interests away. Because I guess if I put it this way, if you're only doing your football and you're coming home and playing Xbox and golf every day, excuse me, and then you get injured, your whole identity as a footballer is sort of, I guess, taken away from you.
100%, yeah.
So the ability to have, some personal growth away from the footy club is very, very important for not just your life after football, but your life whilst you are playing, to give you different stimulus and you get energy from things, and learning new things gives you energy and excitement and things. So that's huge. And the guys, the clubs put a lot of focus on that these days. I know the AFL, I think it's a day and a half that they either get it, they have to be doing something, I believe. So, they've come a long way in that regard.
I guess something that's pretty insignificant in the grand scheme of your career. But we had a little look and we saw you went on Survivor. I actually did watch that season. How on earth did that happen? Are you just at home? I'm guessing
completely
you like
off
the show.
Footy now.
Yeah, I'm guessing you like the show. And did you just sign up, or did someone reach out to you? Was it just something you always wanted to do? Because it's interesting.
Yeah, Cooper. So I watched Survivor and I was a fan. I wasn't a super fan, but I definitely watched it and loved it. Anyway, so it came about through my brother's wife's side of the family, the casting agent for Endemol Shine, the production company, and of Survivor. And I remember the year before, I was sitting on the couch with my wife watching it, Catherine, and she said, "If you got asked to do that, would you do it?" And I said, "Damn straight, I do it."
Is it all legit? Like, there's probably a contract saying that you can't say this. But,
No.
but is it all like it's all what you see on TV?
Yeah, it's largely is. So they want you. There's no food. There's rations of rice and beans. Obviously, there's a bit of food, but so you're starving. I lost 9 kilos in the 42 days I was out there. So I remember getting to day 5 or 6, and we hadn't. All I eaten was some rice in that 5 days, because the beans, we kept messing up how we're cooking the beans. They turned into like rocks, so we couldn't eat them. So I just had rice. So I remember just thinking, how the hell am I going to eat a day 10, let alone day 20 or 40, 50? It was one of those real, like, I'm in trouble moments. But it's amazing how I reckon you lose weight real quick, and then you sort of slowly plateau out and lose weight. But the first week you lost a lot of weight. It was unreal. It was amazing. I love the whole experience. Having no technology on an island was unreal. That was one of the great things.
Yeah.
It's a bloody good detox. Catherine said that the whites of my eyes were the whitest I've ever seen, just eating rations of rice and beans. To do the challenges that they make is a real, obviously, privilege to be able to do that. Really, some of them are tough. Some of those endurance ones are really hard.
Yeah.
When you watch my season or season 4, you probably don't see a whole lot of me. I don't speak a lot. I felt like I played the game strategically, but you probably didn't think that watching it a whole lot. But it was awesome, Cooper. I loved it. I'd do it again tomorrow.
Yeah, and just another question as well is when you come back and obviously you're starving for however many days, when you come back, do you just go on a binge? You just go crazy with the food? Do you put all the kilos back on?
Yes.
It's KFC.
Yeah, I can compare it to, say, for example, an extreme example would be like bodybuilding, how they starve themselves just before the show, and then after they just slam 10 packets of donuts.
Oh, absolutely. Yep. Like I was a mess. At the end of the game, I got blindsided, went to XL Beach, made the Winners Challenge, come back in. Anyway, I found this, to give you a backstory quickly, I found this fake clue. Luke Toki, great Survivor player, he's going to be in the next season. He's a cheeky bugger. He'd found a clue early in the game to an immunity idol, and he kept the clue, and he planted in the jungle, and silly me found it, and it was basically saying there's a hidden immunity idol buried around camp, 30 centimetres below a tree stump that has 3 distinct fingers shooting to the sky. If you dig with your back to the ocean, you'll see what you find. Anyway, so silly me's digging holes all throughout the night around the camp and throughout the day, like for 36 hours. And I like really wrecked myself, didn't sleep. And you've got to go to these confessionals with the producers. And I'm like, you assholes, I'm digging holes. There's no idol anywhere. Look at the holes I've dug. I'm blowing up at them. I was actually bawling my eyes out. I was that mess. And then kicked out of the game. I got voted out. They got me again. And I was lucky I went into the jury. And so we went back to the villas, and the lovely Fijian ladies would just cook you. I'll put 6 kilos on in 6 days. That was unreal. Yeah.
Oh, awesome, mate. And I guess we'll round out the podcast in a minute. Going back to the AFL, you're inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2020 because you were filming Survivor in 2019, weren't you? You missed that year. And then also in the Brisbane Lions, obviously Hall of Fame. What's the pinnacle moment of your career, man? If you had to pinpoint one moment, whether it be premierships, Norm Smith, Hall of Fame, what's the pinnacle for you?
Yeah, just the thrill you get from winning that third premiership with your mates. That was incredible. I'm sure if we won the fourth one in 2004, that would have been even better. But yeah, that when you look back, that 3 years in a row we've been able to do this, climb the mountain. That was amazing, so good. And yeah, I get asked about the Brownlow and the Norm Smith. That was great, but to the team success is honestly so much better because you're doing it together with your mates. You're cracking in, you're working hard, and like we've spoken about, and to have that feeling and energy with your mates, like it's unreal.
Yeah, it's unreal, isn't it?
Yeah, that and also the Survivor feed after did also sound pretty good. It's pretty hard to compare those, but
I should have seen it. It was burgers, pizzas, lasagnas,
making me hungry.
chocolate milkshakes, and it was out of this world. It was nuts.
I guess. There you speak.
Oh, one more before Ben wraps it up, but I love the behind the scenes stories. So if you could supply just one behind the scenes stories of your playing career, it doesn't have to be the funniest moment or the best moment, just a behind the scenes story that pops to your head straight away that you can tell us.
Behind the scenes.
Something that might have happened in the change room or on the ground that just no one really knows. It's just completely niche to the public.
All right, I'll give you a quick Leigh Matthews story. Leigh was regarded as a great player, and anyway, we won our third flag. We just got back to the hotel. We had to drop our bags before going to a function, and we're in the elevator. There's about 15 of us in the elevator, and Leigh's in there. We've got a carton of Crown Lagers and whatever we're drinking, and the elevator got stuck, and we're sitting there. And I just remember about 10 minutes in, and Justin Lepich, who's a cheeky bugger, he said to Leigh, he goes, "Leigh, I've been thinking," he said, "you'd be nothing without us. We just won you your third," or it was actually his fourth premiership as a coach. And Leigh turns to me and goes, "Yeah, Justin, I'd probably just be left with the greatest player of all time tag if it wasn't for you blokes, wouldn't I?" So it was that one. And then Vossi, our captain, just a good little sledge. We played a game down Geelong one day, and there was this small player called Shannon Burns who played for Geelong, and it was just after half time. And at half time, the Oz kickers are out in the ground playing Oz kicking things. And anyway, there was a ball up in the forward pocket for Geelong, and the umpy comes in to grab the ball and throw it up, and he goes, "Umpy, stop, wait." He goes, "Wait," and the umpy goes, "Yeah, what, Michael?" He goes, "There's an Oz kicker still on the field." He points to Shannon Burns, who's just a little fella. Anyway, we all thought it was pretty funny at the time.
I guess wrapping it up, I guess a good way to finish it up is if you could give some advice just to anyone who wants to make it, wants to play AFL one day, what would be the most important advice that you'd give them now?
Well, not only the AFL, just like you've obviously been in the business era as well, just in life in general, what's one piece of advice you could give anyone trying to make it in their career successfully?
Yeah, anyone that does well in life, I think, is passionate about something. You've got to find the passion in what you're doing. And so that's obviously critical because, a lot of success is hard work and dedication. So you've got to be passionate about what you're doing. Otherwise, you won't see it through and climb get through the grind, because a lot of the time it is a bit of a grind. So you find that passion, you'll probably find enjoyment in the grind, I guess. So that's really big, and being really specific around what it is that you're wanting to need to improve on. Know if it's sport, know your game. What are your strengths? We talk about footy. What's your weapon? What's your real weapon? And don't make it good, make it great. And how can you make it great? Spend the time really honing on, focusing on that, because what are you renowned for? I guess end of the day we all get judged in life, and any workplace or environment. What's Billy Smith renowned for? Oh, he's renowned for his in sport, his speed on the football field. He's renowned for his skills. In the workplace, he's renowned for his relationship building. He's renowned for his ability to close a deal. Like, you'd be renowned for something, so make your strength really strong. Make that stand out. Is a really big one. And there's a couple of things, and maybe I'll just probably add as well. Seek help. Get out of your comfort zone to at times maybe be vulnerable. Whether it's asking, feel like don't ask. There's no silly questions. To learn, to absorb advice and quality information, I guess. Just on that, I'm probably going over a bit, but for me, that was around my first year at the club, grabbing Michael Voss and doing some extra contested ball work after training, after being out for 2.5 hours in 35-degree heat, middle of summer. And he was good enough to do it with me because I wanted to learn to win the contested ball. And I never, and the boys would be like, oh, good on you, go and get flogged by Vossi again. And I never beat him in a contested ball, but I learned to use my smaller frame to the best of its ability, and that was keeping my feet. And if he got the ball first, I could tackle him and things. And it was around, that was probably my bit of a vulnerability that when I look back, I think that really helped me to become a midfielder in the AFL by just doing that one thing that I was uncomfortable to do.
Mate, it's a great message, and I'm sure there's so many people out there watching thinking that they want to do things to themselves, but there's nothing wrong with asking for help, and help is always there, and I'm sure it's a great message that you send there. Mate, thank you so much for coming on. I mean, I've been buzzing the whole week, and I'm sure Coop has been the same about you coming on the podcast, and we can't express our gratitude and thanks so much more than we have right now. So thank you so much, mate, and we hope you continue to do well in the academy for the Lions, and all the very best.
No, thanks, boys. It's been great to have a chat with you both. Thanks for having us.
All the best. Thank you very much.